What's up, good looking people? Welcome to the arrangement part 2 of this track. And we will talk about just some minor things and a cool kind of rack I built. So this rack is inspired by a preset you get from the FabFilter EQ, and it's called the telephone EQ. And it's basically, you take an EQ and you put on a low cut, a high cut, and three bell shapes. And what you do with it is you kind of narrow it down to 500 hertz for the low cut, like around 4 kilohertz for the high cut, and then just add some peaks in this area, kind of looking like this. And what this does is, it really, like the preset name says, can even increase the Q factor here. It sounds like you're playing it through a phone. And I like to use this rack a lot for kind of introductions, for breaks, for all kinds of stuff. And in order to automate this, we click the EQ8, we press Command G to create a new audio effect rack, and assign all those frequencies and the gain to just one macro. So we take this frequency, macro 1, we take this frequency, macro 1, this macro 1, this here, macro 1, macro 1, and even the gain to macro 1. And now we can move with just one knob, move the whole bands. We want to have the telephone EQ activated at 127% and then increase its effect, and then decrease its effect by pulling down this knob. So we need to assign the scale to the macro 1 as well. And what we do now is we map the macro in the correct way. So we want to have the gain at 0 dB, and if we increase it, just to go down just some dB, because it tends to get loud if we increase the mid-range by the bell bands. Then of course we want this to be 0 if we have turned it down, and 100% when turned up. So if we turn up the macro, it will also increase the dB of the bands, and it doesn't affect the low cut and the high cut. So at max we want this to be at 500. At max we want this to be around here, and around here. Oh, we have this needs to be in the middle here, and the high cut needs to be somewhere here. We can adjust this, of course. If we turn this down, we need to swap this so this gets turned up, and we need to assign this to the same value so this doesn't get affected at all if we change it. You can get this whole telephone rack without setting it up from the project file, so you don't have to worry about it. But right now, when we turn this down, we have a flat EQ with nothing going on. But if we turn it up, you can see that it's slowly increasing. And this is what we call telephone EQ, and with the macro you can just simply automate this on the whole master and give this whole track kind of like this telephone effect, for example, in the beginning. So if we start here, if I turn it down, and because we start with quite a narrow band and open it up for the main part, you even increase the effect of kind of a build-up. I like to have this as well as like to end a phrase. So and like we did earlier, for this 16 bar loop, I like to introduce the muted picks at the second part of the 16 bars. And then I'd go for a break, because we kind of got what this song is about. So let's go to the break section. Let's add those down lift effects. I feel like right before the break we could use another of these crushed synths. In order to even increase the effect of building the tension to go into the break, we can use another fade to gray effect and just slightly increase this at the end. So in the break section, I want to introduce the delete harp we did earlier. So we just drag this here. And we can maybe leave out the synth for now, just to have this harp going on. Add some sort of auto filter to just keep this transition smooth. Okay, perfect. For the chords, I would kinda create just a little pad just to support the break character of this track. So I just take the same MIDI file and maybe just use the chords without any root notes, without any passing notes, just to have like the same vibe going on. Maybe even decrease the range for the voices. So let's just go with these chords here. Delete the root notes and go with this. And again, I really want to have really simple sounds. So I either go for something like a triangle wave with some low cut and increased attack, so it's really a pad feeling, and then go for the noise unison mode, as I really like this one at the wavetable synth. increase the reverb and delay. And there we have it. For this track, I feel like there needs to be some sort of rhythmic element here, but we had used the hi-hats again, so maybe just a ride like this one here. Just being subtle in the back, also transposed higher because it was quite... even higher. And then just support the whole rhythmic section of this break. Adding some ghost notes. Again, lower volume. Copy it to the right sections. Whoops. Sounds good. Let's add some noise. And then just loop this whole section here. Select the whole loop, press Command C, go to the right spot, press Command V, and now you have the section duplicated. So I feel like there needs to be some sort of surprise between the break and the second drop part. So what I like to do is I just select like half a bar, press Command and I, and create time in between. And you can use this time to kind of create a really cool vinyl drop effect by increasing the fade to gray. Like this. Let the telephone EQ be your best friend. And now go to the frequency shifter, put it behind the fade to gray, and use the same effect we used for the chords again. So just drop this down. Awesome. Don't forget to add the rhythm locator here, because otherwise your grids get kinda weird. We can add even more fade to gray stuff on the lead group, so we just take another fade to gray device and kinda let it fade out at the end of this section, because in the second part we don't want the muted picks and the harp and all the other elements going playing. So and there we go. We can, for the outro, just maybe add the chords and the pad again. Maybe even the harp. Reduce the fade to gray. And then just automate the master volume going downward. So this is what I usually do in terms of automation. I try to find smooth transitions using effects and effect rags like fade to gray. You can see here's an EQ and just a delay that kind of washes it out, so the transitions are easier. I use stuff like the telephone EQ just to make sure that everything stays interesting and it kind of gets interrupted. And if you use those effects on the master bus, it kind of feels like a DJ who uses filters and master effects, which is something I personally really like. After the break parts, and you can hear this a lot in my tracks, I kind of leave out half a bar or even a whole bar, just because I like to have some sort of surprise. And then you kind of just create something for the second part of the, let's say, the second drop, just to have some sort of excitement going on. We did this with the lead sound here. And for the outro, you just want to smooth it out. I tend to use the same stuff I used in the introduction, plus the addition from the second drop, but that's really depending on the track. So that's it for the composition and for the arrangement. And in the next video, we're going to look at mixing stuff and how to make everything sound like it's coming from one source and it's really gluing together. So see you there.